Are you trying to sell a home out of state while trying to purchase a new home and move over here to Nevada without losing your mind? That can totally be a recipe for stress and possibly disaster unless you've got the right game plan in place. And on today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what that game plan should look like for you. Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah Schultz. If you're new here, I am a realtor in the Northern Nevada market, serving Reno, Sparks, and all of the surrounding areas, particularly in the vein of relocation, as that is my specialty. I've helped dozens and dozens of families and clients relocate from out of state to here, whether you're coming from California, the Bay Area, LA Metro, or beyond. I can help you too. I know how overwhelming it can feel to juggle not one, but two different real estate markets at the same time and be on both the sell side and the buy side of a transaction, but not to worry, you are in good hands, my friends. All right, I'm not here to waste anyone's time, so I'm gonna dive right in, and the very first thing that you need in not one, but both markets is a really solid, reputable real estate agent professional who not only has a lot of experience in the market, but also has potentially and hopefully a very niche focus in relocations, because that in itself is a skill set that is very unique. Not only that, but it really helps if both agents on both sides in both states can effectively communicate with each other to make sure that your transition is seamless and there's no weird timing gaps wherein a house is sold but you haven't closed on your purchase yet or anything like that. So you really want to make sure that the two agents are in communication with each other. If you are thinking about moving here, I have amazing referral partners nationwide. Like I said, you guys, my niche focus is on relocations. So I've spent countless hours vetting and finding really amazing agents in many of our feeder markets, as I like to call them, markets where people are leaving when they are coming here. So I have a lot of amazing resources and referrals for you. But basically, there are a lot of milestones within the timeline overall on both the sale side and the purchase side, and they all need to align to make sure that your closing from one state to the other is very smooth. A lot of people are really shocked to actually find out that we can close on the same day. If you sell a home in another state and you close here on your purchase, that can actually all happen on the same day, especially if, we're waiting on a wire transfer of funds from out of state to fund your purchase here. We do this all the time. My title offices here are fantastic and amazing at making sure that that can happen, but we just all need to be on the same page. We need to be communicating with your title office out of state, with your agent out of state. If there's a lender involved, if there's a gap between your proceeds there and what you're purchasing here and there's a loan involved, all of those pieces need to come together. So it's super important to make sure that you have the right team in place, and that is number one. Speaking of financial strategy, that would be number two. You need to make sure that your financing, whatever that looks like, is in place and that you have a game plan. Obviously, cash is going to be the path of least resistance and the simplest way to purchase, but I don't know about you guys. I don't know a whole lot of people that can just keep their house there and buy another house here cash outright without any sort of in between or needing net proceeds to fund the purchase here. So it does take a little bit of strategy and finessing, and that's all stuff that I'm very skilled in helping you and my lending partners here. If you need a bridge loan, if you don't want to wait for the home there to sell and you want to buy the home here, a bridge loan may be a great solution for you. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to sugarcoat the fact that the rates tend to be higher on those, but they are intended to be short term. That's a whole other video. If you have questions about a bridge loan, just ask me and I'll put you in touch with lenders here who can help you out with that. But my main point of number two is that we need to make sure that that piece of your strategy is very clear. I know sometimes we'll have to use a rent back or lease back, sometimes it's called, wherein the seller of a home will have to actually pay rent on their home until they've moved out. Sometimes that can happen on the departing home, and that will enable you to have those funds in advance and put them towards your purchase, but still be occupying the home while you're finishing up the moving process. But we can get into all of that. Listen, every situation is super unique. And so there's not really a one size fits all when it comes to anything real estate related, but especially not financing and, coming up with those funds to purchase. So we can hop on a quick call and figure out what your situation looks like and come up with the ideal strategy for you. with that, I'm going to carry on to numero 3. All right, there are several contingencies that are somewhat baked into any real estate transaction, and they are financing. If you are paying with a loan, chances are you are going to have to clear an appraisal, or on your departing home, if the buyer is purchasing your home with a loan, they're going to need to clear an appraisal. And this is like really getting into the weeds. If you have questions about that, you can let me know. But essentially, a lender cannot fund a loan for an amount that is higher than the appraised value. So that is a contingency. And then number 3 would be your due diligence. This is also baked into every purchase agreement in real estate. So, that's stuff like your home inspection, if you're going to do additional inspections like septic or whatever the home requires. This is really specific to the property. If your home's on septic, if your home's on well, versus like city water, you're going to want to get into all of that. But, the offer that you make is contingent on the findings of all of that. So that's going to have to be juggled in both your departing home transaction and the home that you're purchasing. We want to be really strategic about how we align those timelines because, things come up and sometimes a whole transaction can get derailed. And what we don't want is for things to fall apart on one end, causing a domino effect on the other. So we really want to make sure that those dates and timelines are, in sync to the extent that they can be. Oh, and there is one other contingency, I should say, that's baked into the contract. And in Nevada, a lot of people ask about HOA. When am I going to get the rules and the regulations, the CC&Rs for this community? Here we call it CIC, Common Interest Community. If the home that you're buying is in a CIC, the seller has 5 days from the time that they accept your offer to order the resale package. Now, the resale package is going to have all kinds of stuff in it, the CC&Rs, the budgets, if there's any pending litigations towards the community, whatever, like all the things that you need to know about the CIC are going to be in this resale package. They have 5 days from accepting your offer to order that package, and it takes about 10 to 12 days to make its way to you as the buyer. And when you receive it, you then have 5 days to review it. And if there's anything in that package that would be the cause of you backing out of the deal, you are more than allowed to do so without any penalty, meaning you can get your earnest money deposit back, essentially. Now, I say without penalty, but typically by the time we are 5 days plus 10 to 12 days into a transaction, we've probably done a lot of your home inspections already and you've paid for those. You might have already had the appraisal done. So you might be out the cost of those things if you decide to back out, but at least you have another added layer of protection. I always get asked by buyers, why don't we get those documents up front? And for the longest time, I really did feel like that was unfair, but actually, I've had some transactions wherein sometimes the market is weird or there's like a really niche property, like a penthouse listing in a high-rise apartment building, for example, wherein the HOA and the rules and regulations are constantly changing. People are always meeting and voting and changing. And those listings do tend to sit a little bit longer than just like a resale single family home. So what we find with that is you want to be providing a buyer with the most current up-to-date information possible. And, let's say you list that penthouse, and it sits for 3 to 6 months before somebody buys it. Well, within that 3 to 6 month timeline, dues could have gone up or down. That doesn't happen. There could be, new rules or regulations to take into account. And so you don't want to be providing information that may not be current. So that, my friends, is the reason why they have that timeline in place baked into the contract. But anyway, I got really derailed with that one, but it's good information. The more you know. I am going to move on. Let's move on to number 4, and that is going to be the shopping process. If you are a remote buyer, it is absolutely imperative, unless I was going to say you are planning to come out here and do all your shopping for your new home, like on the ground. You really want to work with an agent who is skilled in technology and able to accommodate virtual tours, whether that be, just basic like FaceTime or WhatsApp. Live video chat is one way to do it, but you also could have somebody who's really skilled with creating videos for you of what it's like to be in the home, pointing out certain features, certain flaws, etc. And you're going to want to make sure that you are working with somebody that has a really solid understanding of not just the home itself, but the neighborhood it is in. If you are shopping primarily remotely, you are not going to know unless you have an agent that's going to go outside and show you the neighborhood. Like, you're not going to know if the people next door just don't maintain their yard and it's a total eyesore, or even though the house is fully renovated, maybe it's in like a terrible part of town. And, not everyone's going to be honest in kind of like showing you around the neighborhood. We're not really allowed to say this neighborhood is good or bad. That's kind of like a violation of code of conduct. But like, if you work with me, for example, I will not only show you the home, but I'll also drive around the neighborhood and show you all the neighboring houses free of opinion. You can form your own opinion, but at least you're given that context. And that is super important if you do not live here or if you're not super familiar with our market. Here is a bonus pro tip, and this is kind of under the umbrella of stress management, but you're going to want to make sure you stay super organized. Now, if you have two good agents managing each transaction, they're going to be a huge help with this. But you want to have a calendar for your two transactions, maybe color code it and have all of your timelines and contingencies for each home clearly laid out so that you know exactly when deadlines are, what's supposed to happen, what's needed from you. Now, if you work with me, I pretty much handle all that for you. But one thing that's super helpful, even if there are kind of like lulls in a transaction, sometimes in remote purchases, we do see a little bit longer of a timeline, especially if there's a departing home or if you're in market conditions where contingent offers are being accepted. Sometimes we do see longer escrows. You definitely want to plan on having at least a weekly check-in with both agents and making sure that everyone's on the same page, because that is going to ensure that everything is aligned and on time and neatly buttoned up, just like I like it. You just need to breathe and remember in this season of complete chaos, and believe me, my friends, I've been there. I've like walked the walk in this regard. It's temporary. The dust will settle. Eventually, you are going to find yourself at home in your new state, in your new city, and everything is going to be okay. But sometimes it's really hard to see the light at the end of that tunnel when you're juggling thousands of pieces of paper for both transactions. And I totally get that. But just remember to go easy on yourself because it's a big deal. All right, that was a lot. If you have any questions at all about relocating or about our market in general, I would love to be of service to you. You can book a free strategy call with me. There's a link to do that in the show notes below. It's no obligation, simply a chance for us to connect and see if we might be a good fit to work together. I've helped, like I said, dozens and dozens, many dozens of clients relocate here from out of state, and I would love to help you too. So let's connect and see where it goes from there. And if you have a home to sell in another state, like I said, I've worked really hard to build a solid, reputable referral network out of state. So let me know. I can see if I have anyone for you on the other end, and I would love to help you in that way as well. All right, lastly, if you haven't already, please smash the like and that subscribe button. I put out new videos each and every week about the Northern Nevada lifestyle, the Reno Sparks housing market, and of course, all things to do with buying and selling real estate. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.